Hello from Patricia Glynn and Storycatcher. If you've listened to our Inspirations posting this month, you will know that it features Conraad de Rosner, one of the Lohveld's dedicated wildlife warriors. His book, Called by the Wild, contains some unforgettable stories about his life as a game ranger and a trail guide and an anti-poacher. This is one of them, and it took place on Windy Ridge Game Reserve in KwaZulu-Natal, where Conrad was earning his stripes as a ranger and performing all manner of chores on the property.
We had to be up very early in the morning, and all the staff would be in a line, standing next to each other. We would then, okay, today this is what's happening. Okay, we're working at that camp or cutting wood in that side of the farm or fixing fences or whatever. And the instructions would be given out in the morning. And then this one specific morning, here was an extra person standing there. And he was kind of like short and stocky. When I say short, just below 5 foot. And I mean, we could smell him from like 10 meters away. He was stinking like crazy. And so I asked the Induna, Obed, I said, Obed, Mbano, who is this? And he said, oh, Mfaan. He said, as a boy. Mfaan is a boy. So I said, oh, Mbanegama. Yeah, okay. What is his name? He's like, boy. And so I was like, boy, Uvele boy, like straight. Is that his name? And they said, yes, that's his name. So I said, okay, so what's he doing here? No, he wants to come and work. And he's very strong. You could see that this guy's got some serious muscles in his arm. He said, okay, all right, let's give this guy a go. So boy, I mean, you could tell him to do anything which was manual labor. Like, for example, he was good with a pick and a spade. And he was good with working in the vegetable garden. And he could do menial or very basic tasks because his mental faculties weren't very, very
developed.
High. And he had like rotten stumps of teeth, and some of the teeth were missing. Also, he would just literally stay behind the house in a shack. And every week, the guys got their rations, and he would eat his rations as he got them. He would start eating with his hands, but eating the maize meal raw. So, and the rest of the workers would be laughing at him. You know, when he got his pay, because the guys were paid in cash in those days, he would give it away to the other workers, and they would be like, hey, good man. So he had no concept of what cash was about. Eventually what happened was because at Windy Ridge, we used to have international hunters, and international hunters would come out and they'd do trophy hunting. And these two hunters from, I think it was Spain or Italy, came out, and they both wanted to shoot a baboon for their trophies. So we went out, and the one guy shot his baboon and killed the baboon, and the other guy wounded the baboon, and the baboon ran off. So then for the next 2 days spent with this guy, and he was complaining. He was like, why must we go walking around looking for this baboon that I wounded when I can just shoot another one? And I was like, no, because we are going to go and get the baboon that you wounded. We will not shoot another baboon until we get your baboon that you wounded. And this was in the area where there's a camp called Intiban Camp, Warthog Camp, which is where the school groups coming to Windy Ridge would go and stay. And Boy, or Mfaan, was working at that camp, and he was digging out pipes. And so we were coming upriver, and then we found that the baboon had died. It had been shot through his stomach. It died a day later, and it was sort of half in and half out of the Insuleni River. And we dragged it up to the camp, and when we got to the camp, Boy was digging at the kitchen. We went to where the car park was, there right by the kitchen. And because when an animal dies, like not long thereafter, the hair will slip. You get hair slip. So I wanted to get going with skinning this baboon immediately to try and mitigate the hair slip issue.
In other words, the hair comes off.
Yes, the hair follicles come out, and then the trophy will be damaged because once you mount it onto a form or frame, the hair will fall out. So I then called Boy and I said, bring some wire. We're going to put up a hanging wires, and we're going to skin the baboon right here, right now. And I mean, when we hung the baboon up, I could really see he was jittery. And then as soon as I brought the knife out and I brought the knife to the baboon and started cutting the skin, he freaked out completely. and literally ran and jumped, holding onto a tree, screaming, and then buggered off. And that was the last I ever saw him. But what happened is when I was questioning and asking the Nduna, what the hell happened with this whole story? Eventually, he explained that boy was a very bright young student at school in Tamanana, which is the village close to Windy Ridge. The other boys were jealous of him, so they beat him to a pulp, to the extent that he suffered brain damage. His parents had died, and so he had no one looking after him. So he just wandered off into the mountains around Windy Ridge, and joined up with a troop of baboons and was coexisting one way or another with them. Eventually, he came out, left the troop for whatever reason, and came to come and work at Windy Ridge for the while that he did.
In the months that followed, the cattle herders said they saw Boy back with his troop of baboons, no doubt now carrying even more fear and hatred of his human cousins. Conraad de Rosner telling us one of the stories contained in his great book, Called by the Wild.